Welcome to our very first demo lecture. Let's call it. We'll just go through some topic. You also get an idea of how PSIR is, and then you can make a more informed decision. Today we've thought let's start with a concept of justice, and under justice Rawls' theory of justice. Let's see if you will be able to appreciate this concept or not. Please write Rawls' theory of justice, and let's begin by asking you a question. Say if you are in a room, there is no one watching you, no control, no ethics, no morality, and you are given a briefcase full of money, right? And you're told to take out as much as you can from that and put it in some other bag, meaning divide it into two and take one and leave. Okay, there is no check, there is no control, nobody comes to know what you're going to do. In that situation, let's say the bag has 1 crore rupees. How much would you put in the other bag if there was no check at all? In the other bag, and leave the empty bag, or leave the one with 1 crores. What would you take? Full amount? Full amount? Of course, if there is no control rate. What if you said that, divide, but then which bag would you choose depends on some toss. Then what would you do? 50-50. Or maybe you can divide, but the other person gets to choose the bag. Then also, you try to ensure that it's as equal as possible, right? The same old cake experiment. If you are given a piece of cake to cut into 2 parts, one for your sibling, one for yourself, but the consideration and the concern is that your sibling gets to pick first. How would you divide the cake? As equal as possible, right? But if you had the first choice to pick, then the sibling gets nothing, of course. See, this is the concept that John Rawls, a very famous American philosopher and of course faculty at Harvard, had come up with this unique concept that we all have biases in us. It's based on certain prejudice, based on the place we belong to, based on the country we are from, based on the caste, the language we speak, the area we are from, the society we are born in. So these are ingrained biases that we have, which always control our decisions, sadly. And this is one very important reason why people do not get their due. Justice is not being done because the ones who are controlling authority might not be that fair, right? So the very first idea is, what do you think is the idea of justice? What is justice? In your opinion, what do you think is justice? Justice has been done. So what do you mean by that? Not just the courts, in general. Ensuring that people are treated equally. So it's largely concerned with the idea of, should I say, fair and proper allocation of resources. It's fair and proper. So our first thing would be a rough idea of what exactly is justice. You can write fair and proper allocation of resources. That's our starting point. Please note down fair and proper allocation of resources. Now, resources should also, of course, you would say, sir, resources mean what? The benefits? Should it also mean the burdens or only benefits? Burdens also. With rights, we also have responsibilities, or as we call it, duties. So allocation of everything equally. Both the benefits as well as the burden to perform some tasks. That's very important. Let's never forget that we have to have proper allocation of both benefits and burden. Okay. See, justice can be of various kinds. Of course, there is this idea of Aristotle's justice. It simply is based on giving each his due, what they need, right? But we have moved on from that. We have something called distributive justice, which you actually know as the allocation of resources amongst people, the very first kind of justice. So we have, of course, distributive justice, which deals with the allocation of resources amongst everyone. The second idea of justice is what is called procedural justice. What do you mean by procedural justice? Distributive, I think you understand, right? Allocation of resources. But what do you mean by procedural justice? Can you give me an example of what would you feel is procedural justice?
Codes.
Okay. When we follow procedures, or something as simple as your exam, UPSC, transparent procedure, or if not transparent, let's call it fair procedure. It's the same for everyone. You have to fill up the form, sit for your prelims, mains, interview. Procedure. Focus is on transparency of norms, rules, regulations applied to everybody equally. The third idea is slightly medieval as a concept. We call it retributive justice. What is meant by retributive justice? Retribution. Retributive. No. When let's say somebody commits a crime, you impose some penalty or punishment, right? What is the purpose behind that? Why do you punish somebody? What if they immediately say sorry and they are full of guilt and remorse? They have killed somebody, but they apologize immediately. What would you do? Okay, scope for reform, or should we at least have some punishment for the mistake? What do you think? Somebody is killed. This fellow has killed someone, but he is extremely remorseful immediately. And he says, sorry, it won't ever happen again. So he shows signs of remorse, guilt, improvement. But should you punish him with a single day of jail, or you'll be like, it's okay, since he has realized his mistake, there's no point. Or some punishment might be given. What is it? Negotiation. But you would want him to be punished. 5-10 years of jail. Retributive justice. That's it. Whatever punishments we give for wrongdoings, it is nothing but retributive in nature. Because you committed some wrong, so we have to, in the form of revenge, make you undergo some kind of sentence. Of course, it can vary depending on how remorseful the person is. Definitely, that goes without saying. But some form of punishment is, of course, going to be there. If not, then it's, of course, always possible that it might be misused. Yes or no? So, punishments have to be there. So, we have had various concepts of how to ensure justice. One concept was given by Plato. Plato said, that why is justice required and how would justice be done? So, it's the amalgamation of heart and soul. Once you discuss Plato in detail, we get to know of this as well. In very brief, Plato's idea was harmony. Harmony created in our soul. He says 3 things. Number 1 is rationality. We think rationally. Number 2, we also have to ensure that we have the spirit in the right place. And number 3, we of course have an appetite to have fun in life. That needs to be controlled. So mind has to take care of things. Mind has to be ethical, right? Mind has to be rational. There should also be an element of, let's say, sense of motivation to do the good, and our personal biases must be controlled. Then we might come up with a more balanced approach, right, towards justice. One more concept I think you all must be aware of is this utilitarianism. Have you heard of this term? Utilitarianism? No? Very simple as a concept. Maximum good for maximum people. This is the idea of utilitarianism. It's a very popular tool used in our country for various aspects. Can you tell me some example of this concept being used anywhere? Operation Sindoor. Okay, fair enough. When I say maximum good for maximum people, most policies are designed along this only. The good should reach the largest number of people. Maximum good for maximum people. Utilitarianism. But see, all these have some concerns, and that is when John Rawls in 1971 published his very famous magnum opus called the Theory of Justice. And in this book, he says that before we can discuss and begin our discussion on any further topic, the very first thing to understand for us is going to be, we have to strip ourselves of all the biases. We have to start from the very origin. If we make rules right now, all of us are given the task to make rules for a just and fair society. We all have some biases, right? We all have some personal experience. We all belong to a religion, a group. We speak a language. So when we make those rules and regulations, it might so happen that those biases might creep in the rules regulations. For example, say a reservation is a policy, which is called affirmative action. If you are, say, an open category person, and you are asked, let's have some percentage of seats reserved for some categories. Now, you would feel that every percentage of increase in reservation or reserved seats for other categories will result in what? Lesser seats for me. So maybe my idea would be that I will just keep 10% to make you guys happy. 10%, that's it. But if you belong to, let's say, a reserved category, and then you are asked, let's have a policy on reservation. You might say, let's do one thing. Why don't we make it 80%? It's better, right? So it is all completely based on who you are, what is your value, what have you learned so far in life. And that is why John Rawls said that we have to start from original position. If you want to create any just society, start from scratch. Okay. But merely starting from scratch does not work well. We also have to attach with it a very unique concept called veil of ignorance. What is a veil? Veil is an English word. Are you aware of this word, veil? Something that covers your eyes, face, etc. Women wear a veil, parda, burqa. That can all be called a veil. Veil of ignorance. What do you think this phrase means? Veil of ignorance. Any idea?
Not being biased.
Not knowing anything. let's start from scratch, where you know nothing about yourself and about what condition you're going to be in future. Because right now you know, I'm making some rules, I belong to this category, I belong to this class, so I have to ensure that my class, my group, myself, they need protection. But if you don't know where you will end up, then you are more likely to be fair. The same cake question. If you don't know who gets the first pick, you'll be fair. But for that, we have to ensure that you have zero knowledge about anything. Now, of course, you might say, sir, is this even possible? Of course, it's not possible. I mean, how would we strip ourselves of all the biases? This is a theoretical idea that if you want to truly decide and be very just, be very fair in decisions and making policies, then let's start from scratch. Original position, and let's not have a single bias in our mind. Because I'll tell you a simple example of how things are and how things are different. As I just explained here on how biases affect us, that's the same every time. Every decision our makers make, say every policy that is being made today, is somehow reflective of the bias of the political party in power. Yes or no? Everything. Because their motive is primarily, how will this get me votes? And also, whose votes? Because they have a target audience. So my policies are geared towards them. Based on that, I devise some policies. What happens to others is of no concern to me. Justice fails. Right? So when you want to make rules for society, the very first thing would be start from the beginning and with veil of ignorance. Let's write this point. Number 1, original position. First write original position and give a dash and write a hypothetical scenario. A hypothetical scenario in which individuals, yes, Dilip, government schemes and policies, absolutely correct. In which individuals, unaware of their own class, unaware of their own class, comma, talents or social traits, choose the basic principles. Choose the basic principles of justice. Choose the basic principles of justice to ensure impartiality. To ensure impartiality. Number 2, veil of ignorance. Veil of ignorance. It's a conceptual device. It's a conceptual device that strips decision makers of all the knowledge, about their personal circumstances, forcing them to design rules, which are fair for every social position. Okay. So just to quickly recap, as we said, original position is the idea where we have to start from scratch. If we want to create a just society, start from the beginning and strip ourselves of any kind of bias, right? If this is a situation where we have no knowledge, then people say that normally this idea of fairness, the same cake example, the cake has been cut into two parts. You have to cut the cake into two parts. Now, if you're a nice person, if you're a fair person, you would try to divide it equally. So fairness is normally seen as a virtue. It's normally a virtue, right? It's something that some people might have, others might not. But if we look at the other way around, when the second person gets to pick it, then fairness is not a virtue anymore. It's an act of self-preservation. Because you have to ensure that I must be fair in order for me also to gain the advantage. Yes or no? See how things which are normally a virtue can suddenly become an act of self-preservation. And this is what Rawls said, that why should we let some good qualities in somebody, or rather, laws, rules, policies be dependent on somebody's goodwill? If this is the case, we go back to those good old days of kings and queens. If the king was benevolent, he would make rules which ensure equality, fairness, etc. If the king was a dictator, then maybe all rules for him, all benefits for him. So this should not be the concern. That is why start from scratch. Clear on this point now? This is a basic premise of the theory of justice. Now, as I said, why do we need to start from scratch? Number one, for ethical clarity. Okay. So we can also write 3 points. Reasons. Number one. So why do we need to start from scratch? Farooq, I'll take this question towards the end. This is a slightly general question. Okay. First point, ethical clarity. Once you start from scratch, you have a sense of what? Ethical clarity on what is right and what is wrong. Okay, please write the first one, ethical clarity. Second, of course, is that it balances or neutralizes any kind of bias. Neutralizes bias. Because we don't have any inherent quality now. And of course, the third one, guides policy making. Guides policy making. So ultimately the objective is that we need to make policies, right? So how do we start our policies? This acts the perfect moral compass because we don't know what exactly is going to happen. And this reflects everywhere in the country with every policy, right? For the larger good of people. Now comes the second aspect that, okay, let's start from the basics. Let's not have any bias. Then how would we want to distribute the society? So Rawls said, once we are done with removal of any kind of bias, we are all newly born, right? No knowledge of what we are going to be. What is called the birth lottery. You know birth lottery? Ambani's son has a birth lottery. He got born in the family, right? If you believe in past karma, then I can't help, but otherwise it's called a birth lottery only, right? So Rawls hated this birth lottery, actually. Some people have an unfair advantage was his problem. So he wanted to remove this advantage. So he said, now, let's see, of course, we start from scratch. Now what do? Should we give people some rights? No? Everyone? Some basic rights, or should we call it basic liberty? That's his next target. That now let's give people some basic liberties. These will be with you at any and every cost. So in future, if you, let's say, end up being poor, you have this liberty. In future, if you end up being rich, still the same liberties. So society has to arrive at some basic liberties which need to be ensured, irrespective of your circumstances. These are going to be with everyone. Right to vote, right to protest, right of speech, right? Freedom to practice your own religion, right of profession. Right to life. That's again a very natural right. So some things need to be given to everybody. And this is the next idea. Basic liberties. Okay. Next. Please write the next heading now. So, next heading, 2 principles of justice. 2 principles of justice. First one, 2 principles of justice. First one, equal basic liberties. Equal basic liberties. Give a dash. Each person is to have an equal right. Each person is to have an equal right in the most extensive form, or in the most extensive basic liberty. In the most extensive basic liberty compatible with a similar liberty for others. Compatible with a similar liberty for others. Full stop. Make sense? See, each person is to have equal right. Okay. So we decide that everybody will have these liberties equally. Okay. Also, we have to ensure that our liberties do not come into conflict with somebody else's liberties. If you have this freedom to raise your hand, it should not touch somebody's nose. That's the idea, right? Last phrase is what? Please read. Compatible with similar liberties of others, right? So our liberties should extend freely around us, but should not come into conflict with somebody else's liberties. Clear? So, what do you think would be the most important liberties that John Rawls thought? Tell me. What would you give to people if you were deciding on having a society? What kind of rights or liberties would you give to people? That this should be there with everyone. Nothing. Thought, expression. Okay. So you would want to express yourself, even if you are a part of government, you'll be okay with that, right? That's the beauty of it. If you right now know that I am an IAS officer, I am deciding rules, then maybe too much of freedom of speech should not be given. Yes or no? They might question me. But if I don't know what I'm going to become, then I'll say no. What if I am the person on the road? I need that speech and expression, right? So, again, I think the same logic, original position, right? Once you are stripped of this, you can take a very fair decision on what you want. Okay. So, okay, freedom of expression. What else? Others? Life. Right to life. Okay, of course, right to life. That's the bare minimum that we have to ensure. So, we won't say right to life. We'll say the freedom of people in general, freedom from assault, etc., following a procedure. So we can't ensure life for anyone, but we'll ensure that we'll follow procedures. Like in our country also, right to life is subject to what? Following procedures. Article 21 says no person shall be deprived of their life or liberty save as in procedure established by law. So if you commit a crime, don't worry, we will follow a procedure and make sure that only if you are guilty will you be punished. So we'll follow a procedure, no problem. Fair. What else? Asad, what do you think? What would you want people to have? Anything special that you would want people to have? Nothing? What rights are? All rights are same only, no problem. Beauty of this subject is that you don't have to mug up much. If you can think, you'll understand and you'll frame your answers. This topic has a question every year. So actually we are looking at a UPSC question. Rawls' theory of justice has a question every year. Last year it was not there, but in 23 they had 2 questions, so maybe compensated for it. Any idea? Freedom to vote, choose our leaders, that, and also right to take part in elections. That should be there, right? What else can be there?
Right to resources.
Right to resources, okay, fair enough, right to resources. So, Rawls thought of 5 liberties. Of course, he thought of those liberties considering his situation, etc. Of course, his own bias must have been there. He was from Harvard, USA, Western idea. So, he thought these 5 liberties are the most important. Please write. 5 liberties. So, what are the first 5 liberties? Number 1, political liberty. Political liberty. Your dash. Right to vote, comma. Right to vote, comma. Hold public posts. Okay, Varsha, equal opportunity. Fair enough. So, right to hold public posts, etc. Second, as somebody said already, freedom of speech and expression. Number 2, freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of speech and expression. Dash. To debate, comma, to protest, comma, form associations, etc. Number 3 is liberty of conscience, written as conscience but pronounced as conscience. Liberty of conscience. What is this liberty of conscience? It simply means following your religion. When you say you have freedom of conscience, this means that you can have any kind of relationship with the superior power that you think of. You believe God is in books, great. You believe God is in the place of worship, great. You believe God is in your parents, great. You believe God is in your girlfriend here or boyfriend, whatever, great. God in ourselves. Tujh mein Rab dikhta hai, no problem. It's all your own. Freedom of conscience. Dash and right. Give a dash and right. To follow your religion. To follow your religion or reject them altogether. To follow your religion or reject them altogether. Next, 4th one. Freedom of the person. Freedom of the person. Freedom of the person. Give a dash. Protection from assault. Protection from assault, comma, arbitrary arrests, etc. Freedom from assault, arbitrary arrests, etc. See, they also agree that I cannot offer you complete freedom from arrest. If you commit a crime, if I commit a crime, please arrest me, but only after following procedures, not arbitrary arrests. Clear? Number 4. Number 5. Fifth one. Right to hold personal property. Right to hold personal property. Right to hold personal property. You can give a dash and write. Acquiring personal holdings. Acquiring personal holdings. Okay. And if you think of all these 5, if you're aware even slightly of our fundamental rights, especially one right called Article 19, all these look to be a part of this right only. So Article 19 has 6 categories of rights: speech and expression, right? Assemble peacefully, forming associations, movement throughout the country, reside anywhere, and to practice any profession, occupation, trade or business. Seems like we do have it in the Constitution, the basic liberties, and in fact more, right? So that's one point that we have. Now coming to the second. So this 2 principles, the first one was these basic liberties. Now comes the second principle. Number 2, fair equality of opportunity. Fair equality of opportunity and the difference principle. Fair equality of opportunity and the difference principle. Difference principle. Equality of opportunity. Now we will break these two one by one. First subheading is fair equality of opportunity. I hope you're all aware of equality of opportunity, right? That we all know. We have it, right? Equality of opportunity. All of you can sit for the exam. If you are 21, that's great. Student A and student B. Student A, as soon as he turns 21, becomes eligible for the exam. Same goes for student B also. Yes or no? But then student A actually belongs to a rich family where he had a very stable house, went to a good school, nutritious, balanced diet, started his GS coaching at the age of 15 only, possibly. Who knows? Student B went to a government school, maybe started his schooling at the age of, say, 5th or 6th finally. Always studied in a regional medium. Issues in the house, had to help his family in maybe possibly farming, has no resources for coaching, etc. But equal opportunity for the exam. The paper is the same for both of them. Is this fair? Not really. Since you can claim, but sir, the question paper is the same for both of them. It is not different. Yes or no? I have to also answer the exact same GS question, sadly. So both A and B have to answer the same paper. Is it true equality of opportunity? What do you feel? Does B stand a chance in front of A? This is the idea of what we call assisted merit. A slight confusion in our mind with the word merit. We sometimes get confused as to what is merit. Merit in most cases is assisted merit. It's not just our own caliber, which we acquired in the last 15 years. It's all these mitigating factors around us, our family setup, our current lifestyle, generational support that we have received. Right? This is what we're talking about. Fairness, true fairness in equality. Clear? That is why the state wants to ensure that everybody genuinely gets equality of opportunity. If the poor cannot afford schooling, the state makes a law called right to education. Yes? They make a law, say, please, we'll provide you schooling. If they cannot avail food, we start a scheme. Yes? You see how our policies are designed along this line only. Fair equality of opportunity. Clear on this? Please write. Offices and positions must be open. Offices and positions must be open to all on terms that guarantee fair prospect for those with similar talents and willingness irrespective of their starting point. Clear? The whole crux of something that we call as reservation or affirmative action is based on this very principle. Affirmative action is actually a term coined by the former president of USA, John F. Kennedy. It simply means reservation. It is based on this idea that we have to ensure equality of opportunity. For that, we might have to reduce or lower the standard of evaluation or possibly reduce the cutoff criteria. Yes? Do we have this? To ensure that some people who could not have the same kind of setup, they are also given the opportunity to enter the services by slight modification of, say, evaluation standards or lowering the cutoff, different cutoff for different categories. Yes or no? That's the idea. Because when we claim that the competition must be fair, the starting line should also be the same. If somebody has experienced over 2000 years of discrimination, the starting line is not the same. That's a problem, right? What you might see right now is 70 years of this policy, but the history and backdrop of it is 2000 years of discrimination of various kinds. So that's why we need to have some kind of support to ensure that this whole concept of equal opportunity is truly fair. And hence we want that the state should provide and support. We can write some examples. Reservation, comma, midday meals, comma, scholarships, etc. In fact, various state governments do run these programs for coaching also. They have these tie-ups with various institutes for SCs, for STs. So we are trying to provide help at every level where they cannot get help, right? So recently, after so many years, there was this whole debate going on that it's not just caste, but even somebody from an open category with limited resources can face problems. So finally we said, okay, don't worry. If you are truly economically weaker, then we'll provide you with some reservation. We have set the criteria also now, based on land holding, based on the annual income limit, which is 8 lakhs. Clear? So we are incorporating these things as and when the time comes. This is the first part of our principles. Second, Marxists believe that there should be complete equality in society. Okay, we should distribute all the resources amongst everyone equally. But will that sustain? What do you think? Is that possible? Maybe. But for how long is my question. If today I give all of you 1 lakh rupees, nobody is getting anything, just calm down. Huh? Assume you get 1 lakh rupees. After 1 year, we all come back, assemble at the same place again. Would you all have the same amount of money? Of course not, right? So, whatever the circumstances we put you in, there are other factors also that come into play. Somebody here will run, immediately put this money in cryptocurrency, make it zero in 2 days only. Somebody puts it in FD, slow increase. Somebody joins some course. Somebody spends, parties, enjoys. So we can never have equality of outcome. That is beyond us, sadly. We can only provide equality of opportunity. How can we ensure equality of outcome? That depends on multiple factors. So Rawls understood this, that it's okay. There will be inequality in the society. What I want is, but inequality is okay, but if it benefits the worst of people, I'm okay with it. For example, say an IAS officer gets a salary of 1 lakh rupees. A teacher gets a salary of say, or a clerk gets a salary of say 20,000 rupees. Assume. You will say inequality. But if this IAS officer makes policies to improve education in the country, makes policies for betterment of lives of people, that's okay, right? Justified. A businessman making millions. But if the businessman who makes these millions is also creating jobs for hundreds of people, contributing to social welfare, building schools and hospitals, okay. Clear? But if you are getting 1.5 lakh rupees, you are sitting in Delhi in your AC office and doing nothing for the country, that is a waste of resources. This is the inequality we don't want, right? So inequality will always exist. Our celebs, cricketers, making crores and crores. Doctors, sadly, not so much. But if the cricketer who makes crores also is providing opportunities for lakhs of people, invests the money into various things, provides jobs, let's say runs NGOs, that's okay. That is the kind of inequality Rawls said we are willing to tolerate. Are you clear? Because he realized it. It is not possible to have perfect equality. The difference principle. Please write. The second one is, next heading, the difference principle. The difference principle. Inequalities of wealth, comma, power, yes, Marxism, Karl Marx. Inequalities of wealth, comma, power, comma, and status are justified only if they are organized so as to make the worst of as well off as possible. Okay. So the worst of people who are suffering, if their lives can improve, we are okay and we are going to tolerate this kind of inequality only, right? So again, just to clarify, Rawls is not saying that let's promote inequality. We are only tolerating inequality based on one condition. The condition is that it should have some impact on the worst of people. It should serve the need of the poorest. If you are not doing that, then he is not supporting. So he is not in support of, say, Vijay Mallya, for example, who made millions and wasted all the money in useless endeavors. So not that. Maybe somebody like Ratan Tata possibly, right? So make millions, but also give back to society. Philanthropy. That's the idea. So that is the inequality we are going to tolerate. Just below that, put a star mark and write one statement. Rawls focus is not to promote inequality. Rawls' focus is not to promote inequality, but to tolerate it, temporarily, only if it serves the poorest. Please underline only if it serves the poorest, right? Something as simple as the JAM trifecta, the JAM trinity, you know JAM, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, Mobile, the scheme. Now, when this scheme was launched, you might say, but sir, if we have to force people to have mobile, right? And also bank account, link it all. Are we not providing benefit to all these telecoms? Because now more and more of their SIMs are being sold. Are we not providing benefit to all these financial institutions, banks? More and more business for them, more and more people are opening their accounts. Yes, but we are willing to accept it because of financial inclusion of the poorest. Yes or no? So despite the fact that some people might make hell lot of money out of it, still we are accepting this kind of inequality because it serves the interest of the weaker sections. We have to bring them in the fold of financial inclusion. Clear? Something as simple as a PM Awas Yojana. So when you have this PM Awas Yojana, the scheme of providing housing to all, this is Awas Yojana. When you provide housing to all, then of course, who is going to construct these houses? IAS officer, some builder, right? You have to give some contract to a builder who is going to get some money out of it, some profit out of it. Now, the builder also makes a lot of money, creates inequality in wealth. But is it okay? Yes, it's okay. Because ultimately, PMAY is providing shelter, a very basic fundamental right to all.
But not in a proper standards.
Now, implementation can be a concern. That is where you come in as an IAS officer. That is when the idea of fairness comes in. When I give out a contract, am I going to be fair? Or do I get involved in what is called crony capitalism? What is crony capitalism? Any idea? Crony capitalism. Crony capitalism actually means, all of you are correct, unholy nexus between politics and business. That's called crony capitalism. Right? So herein lies the whole concern. Are we truly, no, this does not work. Are we truly unbiased? As we had mentioned, political parties, votes, their policies are geared towards that. So, in this situation, when we say that, sir, what about the implementation part? If builder A says that, sir, this is my invoice to you, or this is my document to you, I am willing to make one house at the cost of just 4.5 lakh rupees. Builder B says, sir, my amount is 6 lakhs. Who do you give the contract to? If both have similar kind of quality, contract to A, of course. Yes or no? No. Wait. B is your best friend. Or B is a brother-in-law. Or B says, sir, 5% of total amount in your Swiss bank account. Then contract shifts immediately, right? But the point is, what can we do here? Implementational part. This is all theory. Ultimately, how effectively can this be implemented? It's up to the implementing agency. If you also were similarly unbiased, truly, then you would say, no, it does not really matter. Right? That's when the ethics exam comes into picture. Because we expect that after you have taken the ethics paper, you have scored 130 marks in ethics, you are very ethical. That's what UPSC believes, right? That is why they've added ethics paper. That's the only reason that ethics is a part of the syllabus, because of growing resentment against the civil servants, that they are completely corrupt. So we have to have ethical testing done. But then for that also we have coaching institutes now to train you on how to write the best answer of ethics, right? To plan and plot everything. Even the case studies are taught to you. If this is asked, write those keywords, throw in those keywords. So again, as we say, you can take the horse to the pond, you can't make it drink. Make all the rules on the planet, but if the implementing agency is corrupt, then what can we do? Right? That's there. And also, let's not forget, the very critical question is that, and to summarize this entire concept, Rawls says that this is the lexical priority, meaning we have two things now. Number one is what? The first one, basic liberties. Second is what? The opportunity and the what principle? Right? The difference principle. So we have two fundas. The first one was the basic liberties. Second funda was this freedom of equal opportunity plus difference principle. This is the order. Number one will always be basic liberties. Are we clear on this? This must be given first, then comes this, not the other way around. Clear? Why? Someone here might say, but sir, I don't need all these liberties and all. You give me 5 crore rupees, I'm happy. I don't want to express myself. No need. Maybe not you. But we are making rules for the entire society. And if you are willing to just take 5 crores and be quiet, no right of basic liberties, what is a guarantee that tomorrow the government does not take away this money from you and tells you, you have nothing like this, can't protest. Clear? So we firstly want this and then we have this. This is the order. And he says that this order must be followed, which is what he calls the lexical priority. Right? The last closing line. So this phrase from the word lexicon means dictionary. So lexical priority. He says that just like in a dictionary, B always comes after A, right? Similarly, here the priority is basic liberties first and then all this. Clear? Please write. First point. First principle to be provided first. First principle to be provided first, give a dash. Equal basic liberties. Equal basic liberties. Yes, Dilip, absolutely correct. Nexus between politicians and businessmen. What is the statement I was making? Equal basic liberties cannot be abridged. Abridge means to take away, reduce. Cannot be abridged for any social or economic gain. For any social or economic gain. Done? Just below this, in quotes, write, freedom makes us Freedom makes us fully human, comma, moral, and a rational agent. Human, moral, and a rational agent. Clear? Close the quotes. That is point 1. Now number 2. Second principle next. Second point. Second principle next. Give a dash. Once liberties are secured, only then do we apply equality of opportunity and difference principle. Clear? If you don't have liberty, you can't protest. If you don't have liberty, you can't choose your religion, you can't choose your job, you can't hold the government accountable. You are just a rich, well-fed slave. Is Rawls' words, not mine. Just a slave. So this is the idea that John Rawls had. And this is the entire concept of the theory of justice. Right? Now see, some of the people have also critiqued on his theory. One such critique has been, okay, tell me, in general, forget feminist approach and all, tell me, what do you think could be a problem with this? This entire concept, I think we have now understood this, right? Tell me what can be, if you are asked, some issue or concern, because this exists in our country. Preamble, justice, fundamental rights, affirmative action, things like welfare schemes, right? In fact, all our judicial interpretations that seek to support fundamental rights, they're all fully in tune with this idea. Liberties are important, equality of opportunity is important, and we are willing to tolerate some kind of inequality, no problem. We are willing to tolerate these kind of benefits given to people as long as larger benefit is served. Yes. But what could be a general problem with this whole concept? Any critic? Dominance of people getting benefits.
On people who are not getting benefits.
But why are people getting benefits? Because they are not in a state to be equal, right?
I mean, even people, some people are getting benefits.
Wrongful benefits, what you're saying. Okay, so a basic implementation problem. Okay, transferring this whole theoretical idea into practice.
Yes.
The very first problem is this whole concept that this is too ideal as a theory. Nobody is free from bias. That's true. He believes that starting the veil of ignorance, you start from scratch. How can you ever be free from bias? That's not possible. It is an unattainable concept actually. We can be as close to it as possible. That's what the UPSC also tests in the entire paper for you. They ensure, in fact, in your service rules, it is mentioned, you have to exhibit neutrality. Every civil servant has to ensure neutrality of 3 types. Political neutrality, okay, cultural neutrality, and class neutrality. Irrespective of any class you are serving, your actions remain the same. Irrespective of any religion, race, caste you are serving, your actions remain the same, called cultural neutrality. And of course, irrespective of any party in power, your performance of functions should not deteriorate. Just because you are a, let's say, Congress fan and BJP has come to power, you can't stop performing. Bro, these people voted against my party. No scheme for them now. Of course not. Right? So yes, that is there. The entire paper tries to check this only. That are we selecting the most neutral people or not? So all these concepts that they, and you can somehow, exhibit through your statements, through your answers somehow of lack of neutrality, especially in essay paper. Why are essay papers becoming more and more political science and philosophical type? Because of this only. See, at that level, people are almost of the same intellectual capacity. There might not be huge difference, sadly. What matters is level of integrity. That's a prime concern right now. Choosing people with the utmost high level of integrity is a concern, because you can be trained. Of course, aptitude is something that cannot be built. I understand that. But still, you can be trained to make policies, implement them. But if you are unethical, what is called as the meat-eating corruption. Now, corruption is of two kinds: grass eating and meat eating. Have you heard of this difference? No? Some of these people who are government employees, they don't actually ask for bribes. Okay? But if you offer them bribe, they can't refuse. They accept it. That's called grass eating corruption. You are not actively seeking money. But if somebody offers you something, you can't resist. But there are some who have this plan right on the preparation stage, that once I enter, I will have one full Swiss bank account with crores of rupees. So for every task, they want money. They breathe, please, 10,000 rupees. One sign, 5 lakh rupees. That's called meat-eating corruption. In fact, only 10% of our employees are meat-eating. Otherwise, most of them are grass-eating kind only. They don't actively seek a bribe. So even if you get the work done, leave, no problem. But the meat-eating ones, when they give you the file, they hold the file for extra 5 seconds. You have to take it out of the hand, because the idea is some money. So these are the dangerous ones. And that is what the UPSC wants, to eliminate these people. Integrity check. That's what is happening. Okay. Fair enough. That's one point. Nobody can be free from bias. What else? When you make policies, there's one more problem. We are expecting everybody to have a rational decision-making ability. That's also not possible. For everyone, something else is of more importance. Yes or no? Just a few days back, there was this IITian student who, perfect implementation, of course, is the issue. So this IITian, he was very upset with some social media influencer about her post. He feels that because I have cleared a degree and I have a degree in this particular subject, I have reserved the right to be the most leading person in the society. So if somebody who is just singing and dancing should not make that much of money, that is wrong. That's his personal bias. That he feels that no, because I am intellectually the sharpest, I deserve to be the richest. That's not how the world functions, right? A cricketer feels, an actor feels that people want entertainment. I'm giving them entertainment and I'm rightfully making the most money. A doctor feels the same, that I'm saving lives. After all, if you're not alive, how will you dance? And what songs to hear? I'm saving your life. I should be the richest, the most respected. So yes, we'll have this also as what is more important. This will always be a concern. And as I said, one big concern is this luck egalitarianism. Rawls constantly wants to say, I have to minimize the inequalities at birth. But there is something called chance also, right? That I said as birth lottery. If somebody was lucky, just because they are born in a family, what can you do? For how long can you keep on minimizing this? Right? Sometimes it is not in your control. Okay, so this is also one concern. He ensured that every time things are too far away, gap widens, we make it equal. This also makes us feel that if every time the gap widens, I take my own personal effort, my own merit, right? And I push my life forward, I see higher tax rate suddenly. Okay, this is a concern for me. This will dissuade me from working. I do my best with the same resources and I push myself upwards. Now 1 crore rupees. Oh, more tax. 5 crores, more tax. This creates a disincentive for people to work also sometimes. And also for the people at the bottom. If you know the state is going to provide, don't worry. Even if I don't work, scheme. Then it also might possibly induce lethargy in people. So this consistent push to target equality can be a concern. Clear? So these are genuine aspects with respect to this concept. So let's end our discussion. We had just promised we will not bore you for more than 1 hour, but we crossed 1 hour. So this was just one topic. There have been questions from this topic, as I said, on multiple occasions. Just write one question which you can answer with very limited knowledge right now also. Analyze John Rawls' justification. Analyze John Rawls' justification of discrimination to achieve the goals of justice. To achieve the goals of justice. 15 marks. This is a 15 marker, so around 250 words. Simple. This relates to which principle? When he says discrimination is justified, inequality is justified, difference principle, right? So, of course, he says that this is justified because we have corrective measures, fair chance, equality. So, you start writing through veil of ignorance, explain his entire concept, and then come to the last in hierarchy, the difference principle, and then talk about how it can be of advantage, giving examples of these things. Your answer should have examples. This is an exam question that came, right? So these are the kind of questions that you expect in the exam. Not too complicated, but yes, we would need to formulate. So once you know the crux, what is this veil of ignorance, and what did he want to say, and why did he want to say, that's it. You are done for life now. It is very difficult to forget these ideas actually, right? Because these are ideas. They largely remain the same. The only thing would be, of course, to revise a bit. Without revision, this exam will not provide any success, right? Any questions? Yes, one question somebody had asked. We had covered this in the last demo class of sorts, orientation. How much percentage of PSIR syllabus overlaps with general studies? Section B of paper 1 is all outright polity, completely. Of course, it has history as well, social justice as well. So what all things would be covered if you study? Again, this should not be, of course, however hard I would try to convince you, this should not be a reason to take this subject, right? Some GS overlap. Interest is also a factor, but still, you have some history portion being covered, part of GS paper 1. You have Indian society being covered, part of paper 1. Last year, Indian society and social issues had 9 questions in paper 1. Just to clarify, right? Very important part. Though in most places it is taught in a very limited manner, but sadly it's a very important part. Of course, entire paper 2 is covered, barring some aspects of social justice, because PSI does not need so many new schemes or programs in your answer. Social justice might require some new schemes or programs to quote as examples. So that could be maybe 10% not covered. Here around 20 to 30% covered, and here it's almost 90%. Entire section B of IR covered here, lot of portions of section A of IR covered here. Paper 3 is slightly different. Paper 4 again, you will have lot of fodder material through PSIR, essay also, largely lot of fodder material. Now what is different? Section A of political science is different, and also section A of IR is slightly different. Here, you might have some use of it in essay and ethics, otherwise slightly more independent topic. Okay, so I hope this answers your query. Farooq, others, any doubt, issue, concern? Doubt. Oh, standard books. I had mentioned last time also, but I would prefer that for now, for political science, you can start with learning ideologies. Andrew Haywood. Okay. Andrew Haywood's Political Ideologies would be a better book to start with. So, in case you want to study on your own, and also an introduction to political theory by the same author, Andrew Haywood, the same author, Introduction to Political Theory. Political Ideologies. And then there is an author called O.P. Gauba. Language might be slightly not to your liking, complicated, but he has two very popular books, Indian Political Thought, Western Political Thought. Done. All covered. Entire syllabus for paper 1, section 1 is this only. Section 2 is just polity. If you go through the syllabus, we had the orientation last week. If you go through the syllabus, you will find it's all polity. But the depth of knowledge here would be slightly more. We would expect you to write an optional type answer, not the typical polity type answer. It is slightly basic in approach. That is why people who, you can see this for yourself also, people who take PSIR, their marks in GS paper 2 is very high. That's the reason, right? Because they can write better answers there. That overlap shows, right? Anyway, any other doubts? No doubts? Sorry. So I had mentioned last time also again. So let me repeat. We will have our classes from 15th of September. That is when the batch starts. It will end on around last week of January or first week of Feb. It might so cross. We'll have around 4.5 months of classes. Expect 3 to 4 hours of classes. We'll have 3 hours of classes. We won't have holidays too much. Of course, the regular ones we'll have, like Sundays are holidays, or if you have Diwali, then 1 or 2 days of holidays, 1 day for 31st or 1st, when you are partying and drunk and hangover. We understand all that. Beyond that, not too long a leave, because I also have to travel. I'm not a resident here, so I also want to have a very concise time frame. I don't take too many leaves anyway. So we'll have a very regulated schedule, right? So that's there. I had also, if possible, I think it is there on YouTube, just also go through it. I have explained on how many hours I devote to each of the sections. Roughly 350, 370 hours is what is required to cover this, right? So I know in the market, we do have some concerns, 6-7 months required for this subject. It's not required actually. But again, to each his own. We will focus on the exam. That is the idea. I don't want you to be an expert in either political science or IR. That is for government to decide. What role do they want to give it to you? I want you to score 300 plus in this paper. For that, it's full exam oriented content. And ideally, we'll practice one question every day, right? And normally in GS also, I give questions in my classes. I think you are my students, right? Others have not ever been taught by me. So in the GS, I don't really check the papers. If somebody shows, I check, otherwise I don't. But here I will force you to write the answer. That will be the only concern you might have. That you will have to write one answer every day, whether you like it or not, till you stop coming. If you don't come, then I can't come to your house, call your parents, send him, no. But if you come, we'll have to. And don't miss the class is my only concern. Please don't miss a single class. It becomes a huge problem for me because of information gap. Clear? Okay.
Sir, section A, section B, we can read simultaneously?
No. Section B must be read only after section A. Why I say this is because I will tell you how to use section A philosophers in section B. Section B is something you know, actually. If you have read roughly history, at least nationalism, post-independence and polity, you know section B. I just want to improve section B, right? So I won't tell you again what is Article 1 or say what is Article 14, I'll simply tell you how to incorporate, say, the test for reasonable classification, or maybe how was intelligible differentia arrived at, or what is a new GNU model of affirmative action in reservation. That's it. So we'll add on to it. For that, we need some information of ideologies, of logic. So paper section 1 is required to be known. Otherwise, section B becomes very mundane and blank. We can't differentiate between an answer of a GS paper and political science paper. So ideally, you can study on your own, but we'll have to devote at least around 30 hours into section B. That would mean only after section A, not together. Okay? Any other issue? Next week, in case you're interested, we'll have one more demo class. That will be for some IR topic, right? So that way you can also get a hang of how I teach, and I also get to show you how boring or interesting the subject is, right? Because ultimately it's all about interest. Okay, we have some more doubts. Yes, Farooq. Oh, you missed. Great. The answer is on the board for you. So, again, as I said, paper 1 coverage, GS paper 1 coverage is around 20-30%, GS paper 2 is 90% coverage, and also lot of help in paper 3 and paper 4 and essay paper. Okay. Beyond that, we also have, as I said, section A of political science, which might require some independent study. There is no GS overlap directly. And also the concepts in IR, in section A of IR paper, that is completely separate, no overlap in general. This is two separate, independent topic. This still might have some use value in your essay and ethics paper. Okay, so that's it. Should we end the class today? Any other query or concern? No? Okay.
International relations, mostly we have studied impact of if two countries got war, Iran and Israel. We have to focus on that war or not impact on our country.
Impact on India. Paper section B is all about India, right? So the impact on India primarily. We need to have some knowledge of what exactly is happening, right? Beyond that, how does it impact India?
Mostly impact on India.
Yes. And 3 countries or other 4 countries, we will have a question. USA, Israel, Russia and China. One question from Indo-US relations, Indo-Russia relations, or Indo-China, or nowadays, of course, Israel. A guaranteed question from any one of these. And again, the entire section B of IR, section B of IR is all about India. India at center, right? So impact on India, but not telling you that we should not know what exactly is happening, right? Basic information, not delving into who is killing how, what drones are being used, how is the drone entering the house of some leader there, not all those things, but what was the relationship that India shared with Iran, how has the history of Iran been with India, maybe 2015, how they helped us with respect to accepting rupees instead of dollars, and how Israel is helping us. That aspect is required because we have to know India's stand on every issue. That is based on some logic, right? And logic is based on history. So we might start supporting Iran or Israel, but our government has a history with both Iran and Israel. That is why we refrain from all these things, right? Neither being close to Iran nor to Israel too much, right? Anything else? No? Okay. That's all for me. Jai Hind.